Good afternoon, fellow Misfits. Good to be here with you once again, sitting in behind the blackened BAD microphone. That is the Brilliance at Debriefing microphone, broadcasting to you from a discreet location, deep beneath the Earth's surface, not located in my mother's basement, no matter what Eddie tries to tell you.
I don't know what you're telling me. Just this nice lady, lets me in, gives me cookies, some
Alright.
lemonade.
Okay, but that's only because you know the secret password.
Oh, okay.
So just make sure you don't disclose that. Otherwise, then we're going to have everyone and their mother showing up to talk to my mother, and then I have to talk about how my dad can beat up their dad.
Well.
So, as you can see, it is I in the gunner seat. No, I'm sorry. I am in the driver. Which driver seat? That one.
Yeah.
Man, I am. Mad Chazzler sitting in the driver's seat, debriefing to you. We have unfortunate news. Big Bad John has left Misfit Militia Coffee.
Yep. He's going to start the Insurgent Irregular Coffee to compete against this.
I was going to say, to those who are distraught and disappointed, we feel you. You can come tomorrow when he gets back from New York and complain at him.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to complain at him too. It's
Same.
been awful. But sitting in his place, we have in the gunner seat, maybe firing off comments, but definitely reading them off. You have Little Eddie. We have traded the Big Bad John for Little Eddie. Yes, we agree. If you're thinking that this is wonderful irony, we agree.
Yeah. Angeline said that she fired Jonathan on Friday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. He's been fired, but we'll have to hire him back tomorrow because we need coffee roasted.
Exactly.
But I say he was out visiting his mama for Mother's Day. Hey Ma, where's my meatballs? Let's get some Italian hands for an Italian family. Enthusiastic, of course.
Very, very enthusiastic.
How are you doing today, little Eddie?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
What do you got brewed up for you in that
I have
tiny mug of yours?
yes, my insignificant tiny mug. I've got Bali today, so it's hitting all the right notes this morning.
I was gonna say,
What are you drinking on there?
So we had a misfire in one of our cartridges, and I had Costa Rican because I was making K-Cups back there, and there was a little bit left. I'm like, oh, so enough. I could brew like 6 ounces, and then throw in 6 ounces of espresso. Well, apparently someone, either I did or Joan did, overloaded the cartridge, and it ended up blowing up in the barrel. So, it's Costa Rican with some espresso. Not sure how I feel about it. I feel like knowing that tidbit of information makes it a little sour for me. I don't know, but
Well, at least it's Misfit coffee. It could be Kroger brand or worse.
Yes.
Like Folgers.
Mm-hmm. Or Cosmic Bucks,
Yeah,
because we're not about
Cosmic.
slandering here.
Yes.
Or even, I'll say, we'll get to it in the announcements, but even Dark Musket Coffee Corporation, their quality has drastically suffered since going big, which, Lord willing, we will never do. Well, at least as long as we're alive, we'll never do.
Right.
There may be some misfit way down the road who decides he's going to be such a misfit that he's going to do what shouldn't be done and go public with this, but Lord willing, it will last that long. But we'll get to that. But first, we have to get to everyone's favorite time. The only thing you can count on to be brought to you accurate, without any kind of bias and without any kind of narrative to trick you into believing what they want you to believe. The only news that matters, that's right, Misfit Coffee News.
Mm-hmm.
But before we even get to that, we have Little Eddie here to talk about some Snores Smokehouse news.
Yep. So if some of y'all know and some of y'all don't, the Misfits have graciously offered me a refrigerator, and we have been selling cream cheese for the past 2 months?
Yeah,
Something like that. Roughly 2 months, which has been great. Which has prompted me. Y'all have bought my cream cheese. Y'all have loved my cream cheese, which is so much a blessing that's not even funny. But that has precipitated that I have started I've gotten enough interest that we are now doing barbecue by the pound. It's here at the shop. Come get you some. Reheat instructions are on there. Made fresh. Every Sunday night. We'll be in the store every Monday. It'll run through Friday, and then we'll bring you some more back on Mondays, along with the cream cheese. So now you can get your protein for your meal, and you can get your appetizer through the cream cheese. Or if you get a dessert one, you have a dessert.
You can get all three. You can get appetizer, main course, dessert.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we also have there's some other things down the pike. If you watch, stay tuned to my channel on YouTube, on Facebook, definitely through them. We'll be starting putting out videos, barbecue videos, about how-tos, discussions, what plans are for the future, and just thanks to God for being able to do all this. My first vending will be this weekend, the 18th, at the Mental Health Glow Walk, brought to you by the Dyer County Health Department and Dyer County Health Council and the Dyer County Mental Health Council. It's free. It's a good time. There'll be I'll be there serving barbecue and cream cheese and Polish sausage on sandwiches.
Just the event is free, not your barbecue.
Yes, the event's free. The barbecue. I mean, there will be other vendors there. I know the taco truck that normally sits in front of Save-A-Lot will be there. I'm not going to butcher their name and try to pronounce it. I just know I get their tortas, and they are amazing. There'll be several other vendors there this weekend. Misfits was going to be there, but they have an amazing fish fry at their church this weekend.
Also free.
Yeah, also free. You also need to go do that. Go do that first, and then you can come see me.
No, see, go to yours first so they can support you, and then come see us and get free food to
either or
fill up on whatever you felt like you didn't get with your money.
Either or. It's gonna be a good time this weekend, regardless of where you're at. But that is everything I have for as far as barbecue news is.
All right. So, yeah, definitely go out, see Eddie. It is a delight. You're going to get one of the best hugs you ever got, and some of the best barbecue you ever got. So
I did rephrase one more thing. We are running a Memorial Day sale. So all that's going to be pre-order. You can come out of the shop and take an order. You can contact us through Facebook. My number's on the Facebook. You can text it's my wife. You'll be talking to my wife, not me. Because she is the one that's organized. I am not. I'm the one that sits in front of the camera and does the food. And I hate the showmanship, and she's pretty much the brains of the operation. But we are having a Memorial Day sale. You can pre-order our whole butts for $50 a piece. By the pound for $15. And, of course, every flavor of cream cheese will be available for pre-order. You'll pick that up, Monday around lunchtime. They will, if you need it before then, holler at me, and I can see what I can do about getting you some before that. We will have some free pounds and stuff like that, and some free blocks of cream cheese that are not pre-ordered already that you can pick up while you're there picking, what you did pre-order up. Or if you didn't, you can come get you some, but those will be in limited numbers. Just because we are requiring a pre-order for this event, because I am running this out of my house and don't have the big old space yet that I would like to have.
So what you're telling us is people can pick up their butts rubbed by you and smoked to perfection.
Exactly.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You get smoking hot butts from Eddie
all the time. We like big butts, and we like our meats rubbed.
Probably I don't know how Facebook feels about that one, but
Well.
anyways, moving right along. So again, Glow Walk, definitely show up, support him. I know that's we come see what he offers. I can tell you that it's well worth it to get it from him. It is delicious. Best turkey I've ever had is the one we had him smoke for us. That was still my favorite, and we ate it cold. We didn't even eat it while it was fresh. We had it cold, and it was still fantastic. So, doing that. Jonathan apparently, Big Bad John has showed his face in the comments, and we regret to inform you everyone's been notified of your firing. So, but the other thing we have as far as related to us, and I can't remember, there's been so many things that we've discussed. Big Bad John, sorry if I told you I wasn't going to announce this without you. Apparently I forgot and I can't remember. But we got new K-Cup lids in. So now your cartridges are centerfire like you'd expect them to be. You throw that bad boy in there, you slap down your Keurig, and it's going to fire that primer and deliver you the best powder charge you've ever had in your cup. Guaranteed to hit the spot every time, unless you get Ethiopian and you're not a light roast person. But even then, you may be pleasantly surprised at how good it is compared to other light roasts. But just throwing it out there. So you're going to be seeing this going forward. You're going to be seeing our new lids on our product, which I think is freaking cool. But
I'm excited about it.
Honestly, I'm a bit of a gun nerd, so that's why I like it.
Really?
Little bit. The other thing is, don't forget we have our wallets and our PMags running a special with that. 2 wallets for any 2 for $50. Shooting hats included in that. You get any 2 mix and match. Pick 2, $50. 2 wallets, 2 PMags, which I guess is normally $50. I think we're gonna do 2 PMags for $45. But any one of the 2, so that way you're not just limited to getting 2 things for one person. You can get yourself a wallet and a mag. You can get yourself a mag and a hat. You can get yourself a wallet and a hat. So if you're just someone who wants to walk around with Misfit swag, which I like to walk around.
Hey,
with
I've got my hat at home. I love it.
I don't say this has become my favorite just with how big it is. But with Misfit swag, we're also going to be looking at getting shirts started up again. We have found a small business supplier. Shout out to Cricket Shirts. They will be we'll be trying to work with them to start getting shirts made that are going to be hilarious and Misfit something. I don't know. We're gonna be looking to get.
They
shirts.
were very nice this weekend when I met them as well.
Yes. And if you want, well, I don't know if they're gonna be there this weekend. It's hit or miss, and actually, I don't. Well, wait. We said we are. I don't know. Y'all, this is what happens. This is what happens when the coffee sommelier leaves for a week. I'm too scatterbrained to really keep all of this together. This Saturday we should be there at the Mill Workspace pop-up event. If you missed it this last Saturday, I was running a new style of coffee server, not a barista, never a barista. You will not see me with a neck beard. 1, because I can't grow it, and 2, because I won't want it, because no. You will not see me with a neck beard and scarf and knit cap. You're more likely to see me with with tactical gloves, a shima, and shooting muffs. So mixing cold coffee, iced to perfection. I tell you what, the best part of that with like mixing the ice drinks is there's just a little bit too much for the cup, but I was already brewing as small as I could, so I got to taste test everything that I made, and
nice.
It was I felt like Big Bad John, where I got to taste test it, and I got to drink all this coffee. I was just like, oh.
So what you're telling me is that you weren't a barista, but you were more like a ballista.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're shooting the flavors out.
I'll say they are Misfit Militia muzzle loads.
Yeah, see?
You throw, whereas our cartridges, it's already pre-made. You just throw it in the rifle and shoot. These ones were muzzle loads, so we load up your muzzle for you and fire it off into your mouth.
Right. I will say this. Angela made a really good comment. Princess Magpul herself put shirts are Pro 2A, coffee, and most importantly, God-centered.
That is the big one. You will probably be seeing some things coming out that we're looking to be more consistent. We had a comment from Karen Buys that really resonated with us, and saying that you say that God is the center of it, but your logo doesn't really have any mention of it. So we're looking to like we said, we have all these discussions. We talk about things that are of God, and we talk about how call us out. Well, we got called out, and we're looking to make changes so that it is more consistent with our values, more consistent with that. So you will be seeing some of that. We already have something in the works, and we are working on fine tuning it. So I feel it necessary to talk over the official changes I want to make with my business compatriots, and I haven't had the opportunity to do that. But let's see what we got. We got shirts, Mill Workspace wallets. Yeah, Mill Workspace. It starts at 10 o'clock and goes until 2 o'clock. I haven't seen any releases to who will be there. Oh, right. But to those who are in Memphis and really like our coffee, you need not worry about ordering or having to drive all the way to Dyersburg or Jackson, because Top Gun has now decided, is one of the newest Misfit businesses that has decided to stock our coffee. So you can go to Top Gun, which is a shooting range in Memphis. I know, what a crazy concept, putting a shooting range in the city that's a shooting range.
Right. I would have thought.
I know. Why pay for it when you can just walk outside and start shooting?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you know what? It's working for them. They're doing something right. But they're going to be stocking our coffee, so we're working on getting them their order shipped so they can start selling it by Father's Day, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Filbert finally joined. Hi, Phil. So yeah, Memphis. Misfit Coffee is now available to you at Top Gun, so go support them. Yeah. Bring a gun. Also, bring a gun to shoot at the range, and get some Misfit Coffee while you're there. So,
no geese were hurt in the advertisement for Top Gun.
You did what?
No geese were hurt.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Truth be told, I've never actually watched any of that, so I'm very uncultured when it comes to the.
We will.
Yes, I know. I'm a sinful human.
We'll sidestep that one.
We'll move right along from that. But along with that, on Memorial Day, you'll be able to find us there at Top Gun from 10 to noon for an event that they'll be hosting for Memorial Day. So you'll get to see all of the Misfits being out misfitting about in Memphis. So come say hi, all you Misfitians who are in Memphis. We would love to see you and sell you coffee.
Yes.
I don't know.
And to any of my friends that I have made in Memphis, y'all should definitely go see them out. I've talked to y'all several times about the coffee that Misfit produces, and knowing that there's going to be a business down there that gets their name out, and to get y'all some of the best coffee y'all have ever had is really exciting for me. And I wouldn't endorse them if it wasn't true. And like I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, their coffee made me go from a caffeinated milkshake that brought all the boys to the yard to basically a black cup of coffee with just like 2 creamers and no sugar whatsoever. So I do add some simple syrup in the skinny syrup in there, but other than that,
hey, I tell you what, one of the ladies, she's like, "Ooh, can you make me a mocha raspberry?" I'm like, okay. I tried that one. Oh, I realized, she's like, "Oh yeah, you think about it with chocolate and flavor." I'm like, I'm so dumb. They have all these pre-made, pre-made things I could just do that with the simple syrups and be like making bomb drinks.
Right?
But, so, yes, simple syrup, it goes wonderful if you add it, if you, in that's the thing, that was the nice thing is like, one of the ladies was talking about how, at Green Frog, she wants it extra strong, or I'm sorry, I guess olive drab amphibian. That she wants it. She likes to get it extra strong. I made her drink, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's good." I was like, I made her the 300 blackout, which is mocha, caramel, and our darkest roast. So, anyone who wants that specialty coffee, treat yourself to a muzzle load. We can, although we still have to work on getting the permitting to doing that officially. But if you're a close friend and you sit there and understand,
if you twist their arm enough,
well, we're working on something. We gotta look at, and actually, how much does your wife work with the actual regulatory side of it?
Of my business?
No, of the health.
I mean,
department.
she's the health educator at
Okay.
the health department, so she's
pretty familiar with the. Okay, excellent. That's perfect. We have an in with the health department.
yeah. I mean, if you need to talk to Mr. Eddie, who's the health inspector,
So-
at any time, I can literally get your number, get you the number like in about a text message worth. So
It's always nice to have a man on the inside.
that's right,
Even if that man
Yeah.
is a woman.
right?
All right. Well, along with that, I'm always like, I'm tempted to just read the comments, so I need to like do away with that. But the last I see is just Phil talking about he's here with the Misfits.
Yes.
So once again, hi Phil, hi Princess Magpul, and Big Bad John. Sorry to hear about your firing on Friday. But that's all I got
What
for
happens when you go to New
Misfit-related
York?
news. That was huh?
I say, well, that's what happens when you go to New York.
I know. It's a shame. Why would you leave Tennessee to go to a place like New York? I don't know. I guess family. Family's a good reason. Not gonna hold.
Pesky family that we love and enjoy.
Yes. That's the unfortunate thing when you have family that lives in just awful places to visit. But oh well. All right. So since I don't have my regular man in the debrief spot, but the debrief discussion of the week. Anyways, so we were just kind of talking about before, because I was still trying to figure out. Listen, y'all, if I seem like I'm like not on my A game, I was up at like 5 this morning, actually 4:30, and trying to get prepped for legislative coffee, and then coming here, and then doing all these things. So I am most definitely not on my A game. I'd probably rank it about a C- or a D+.
I mean, you're doing good so far. So
I said good afternoon instead of saying good evening.
That's
which
true.
I've done
That's
before when I was
true.
supposedly in a better shape. But
technically, wouldn't it be just good noontime because it's not
I may just jump to good morrow. Good day to you all.
good day. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all about doing things different. I mean, that's why we're misfits.
All right.
Screw the norm. But we were talking about it. And we were just talking about worship music, and it's kind of funny because it seems like you and I kind of have the same stance on this, to an extent. And actually not to an extent. You and I kind of have the same stance on this. Realistically, I guess what we'll get into is, it's interesting that like, first off, one clarification that I want to make is everyone says worship. They're like, oh yeah, our worship service. And yeah, worship, and they're always talking about music, but music isn't the only form of worship.
Right.
Worship is anything that gives glory to God. So prayer is worship because you're saying, God, you are the only one who can handle this. Reading the Bible is worship because you're saying, God, I want to know more about you.
Right.
You are important. So it's like, first off, if you're one of those that says worship and you only mean music, wrong. So, but for this case, because that's how people understand it, when we were talking about worship, we were talking about specifically about worship music and how, it's funny because for as much as they clash, and it's sad that churches have split over this. Right? Even if you say, well, they haven't split, they just have two separate services. That's a split.
Right.
You have a service for this people, and then they all leave, and then these people come in, and you have a service for them. They don't interact. You split. You're just in the same building, but you don't worship together.
Right.
It's funny that they want the different styles, but they kind of have the same mindset. We gotta do it. We gotta do the old time hymns, and we gotta do it with piano, and we gotta do it, as it's written, bum 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 bum, and all that. And then you have the other people that, oh, we gotta do the new stuff because it's new, it's hip and exciting. But make sure you do listen to the CD on how it's done so that you can do it exactly like the artist, because that's how we need to do it.
Right.
And it's just, for me, all that is just silly. I've never been a fan of that. I mean, that's why we're misfits. Is anything that you just do it exactly like the other people do it and you'll be fine, has never flown well with me.
It's a good starting point, but I mean, things change. Music in itself, changes. We're not sitting around listening to Beethoven anymore. Even though we go back and do listen to Beethoven because he is considered one of the fathers of music, one of the masters of music. But look how far we've come since then, and so music does change over time, and it's nothing wrong with the old ways, nothing wrong with the contemporary ways, but only having the mindset that this is the only way that it's done, or this is the only way that it's done. That's not right.
Well, and that's the thing. It's funny because you have some of the people that say, "Oh, the new contemporary, it's worldly." Well, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, they say it in. I'm not saying that they're. Let me get to my point first before I jump around here. They say it's worldly. It's like, okay, well, first off, you gotta remember the hymns were written to bar tunes. They were sung to bar tunes back in the day because everyone knew the melody. Mm-hmm. Everyone, it was part of the culture, so everyone knew those melodies, so they could sing it. So but I mean, the focus should be more so, what are the lyrics that they're saying? What are they saying? What are they saying in the music? What are they saying? Because there are some hymns that are very simplistic and there's not much theological depth to them. There's other hymns that you could be a giant and you'd still be drowning because of the depth that's in there. And now I will admit that I take the stance of a lot of the contemporary stuff. There's a lot of them you could stand in a puddle of them and your feet would be completely dry. So I'm not saying that it's a one-to-one but that's realistically what we should be focusing on, right? If we're going to call it worship, the thing about it is we as people are inherently evil. We're not going to worship God. We're not going to inherently know how to worship God because we of ourselves don't naturally want to do it. We'd prefer to worship ourselves. And so it's one of those things, the most worshipful songs we can sing to God is what He has revealed to us through His Word. Right. And so that should be first and foremost our focus. But even our church, because like we do predominantly hymns. I'll look through the hymn book and I'll see what my pastor's speaking on, and we'll go through the hymn book and we'll do it. But one of the things about me, I do not like 3/4 timing, because God did not intend for there to be three beats when the quarter note gets the beat. If there's a quarter, then you need 4 quarters. So that means you need 4/4 timing. That's not actually how I feel. I just don't like 3. It's awkward for me to strum. I can not figure out. For me, it's just naturally 1, 2, bum, bum, 1, 2, 3, 4, and like I don't know what it is. I don't do well 3/4. I feel like I'm missing one. So there's songs that are written in 3/4 that the melody and all that is done to 3/4. That I'm like, I'm doing this in 4/4 because I can't figure out a good strumming pattern or a natural strumming pattern. But that's because God has made me this way. Right. God didn't make me to be Chris Tomlin. If He did, my name would be Chris Tomlin. God didn't want me to play like Chris Tomlin, otherwise He would have made me Chris Tomlin. And that's one of my biggest things with these people that say, "Oh, we gotta do it like these artists." Like, if you want to do contemporary stuff, that's fine. Why do you have to do it exactly like the artist? Right. Did God make you, or did He make a second of that artist? And if He made a second of that artist, why do you not share his name? Right. And it's, I guess we titled this one "Worship and Style," and like that's my thing is, God has made each of us unique. He doesn't expect us to worship like that other guy. Right. He expects us to worship with the talents He's given us. And I would say even in the style that he's put in our hearts. That's part of the beauty of making everyone individual, is your own individual style. You bring it to worship, if the words are there, the lyrics are it's worse. It's truth that is being spoken about God. The style really doesn't matter.
Right. So going on with that, if this, because the style really doesn't matter, then why in the world do 80%, 90% of contemporary Christians, write the same way? I mean, and when I'm not talking about like the message behind it. I'm talking about just musically. Why do we turn on K-Love or The Message or wherever you listen to your Christian your Christian music, not Christmas music, but Christian music? Why does it all sound the same? There are times for us, to be reverent, and this kind of like woe is me. I need saving. We all need saving. That's why Jesus came back, was to save all of us, because he loved all of us. But we can have loving songs. We can have uplifting songs. I mean, David wrote in the Psalms uplifting songs, oh woe is me songs, war songs. I mean, he wrote a little bit of everything, but why do we always stick to the same old of music, the Christian popular Christian music? Why does it have to stay the same? I mean, one of my favorite songs, and is because it's uplifting, it's Big Big House. I mean,
I've never actually heard that one.
While it's a big big house with lots and lots of room, a big table with lots and lots of food. It's uplifting. Describing about what potentially could happen while we were in heaven, and how we're not going to have to worry about food or anything like that. But, and I'm not saying that, music like How Far Is East from the West, or I Can Only Imagine, because there's two. I love those songs. That's why I mentioned them. But they sound similarly. But then they also sound similarly to everything else that gets put out. And you could take the same words and put them in a different style, because ultimately the style really doesn't matter, and you would still get your point across. My only question is, from a listening standpoint, again, why do we choose to do this slow, very reverent, sad, /sad/ woe is me? Why do we perpetuate that all times, when the Bible shows us that there is times for that, but there's also festival times? I mean, we should have happy music and stuff like that during Pentecost, and during Christmas, and during Easter. Yes, you can come at it very reverently, but you can also have a good time being reverent. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is, even that though they consider some hymns Christmas. Oh, that's a Christmas hymn. That's a Christmas hymn. No, it's a hymn proclaiming that Jesus came to earth. Right. That's something we should be excited about all the time.
Exactly.
Christmas is actually, I think, one of the biggest disservices, and honestly, to an extent, I even feel like it was a wolf in sheep's clothing by the devil to have Christmas hymns, because now it's like, oh, well, you just celebrate Jesus during this time of the month, just this time, that's the only time you focus on his coming to earth.
Right.
We should be focused on that all the time, because his coming to earth is what allowed him to die on the cross. And that's the other thing. Oh, focus on his death on the cross during Easter. No, we should be contemplating his death on the cross every day.
Right.
We should be contemplating. We should be thinking about what it was. There was, and this is if anyone hasn't, strongly encourage you to listen to Paul Washer. I've never heard anyone put the seriousness of sin in the light that he has. But I was listening to one of his the other day, and it never struck me until he talked about it. Abraham was told to sacrifice his only son, whom he loves. And one of the things that good preachers will tell you is everything in the Old Testament is it's the gospel because it's a representation of Christ. You think about that picture. Abraham, he basically told Abraham, go do this thing and understand that this is what I'm going to do to save the world. This is what I'm going to do to save humans. And it finally hit me just thinking about that, because we talk about the love that Jesus had because he died on the cross, which, don't get me wrong, immense amount of love. To die for someone who basically spits in your face and says, no, I want him dead. I want him dead. But we don't think of the love that the Father had. That the only person who actually deserved his love, who deserved to be loved by him because he was righteous and holy of his own self, by his own self. God could not send anyone else to earth because they would have fallen.
Right.
Don't believe me? There's a reason we have demons. Those were once angels. And as Paul Washer even said, where was Satan when he fell? He was in heaven. So there are no other beings that are holy by themselves. Jesus was the only other one that was holy by himself, the only one who was deserving of God's favor and God's love because he was holy. And God had to crush him for the sake of this creation of his that would curse him if we're not for his love and his mercy.
Right.
Complete side note, but honestly, it kind of ties into the style. Like, oh, it's that's an Easter hymn. It's like, no, that's a hymn about Jesus' death on the cross. Oh, that's a Christmas hymn. No, it's a hymn about Jesus coming to earth.
Right.
Two very important things that we should be seeing normally, and I'm guilty of it, but I chose to break free of that. We did Mary Did You Know for Mother's Day, because it's one of those things. How many women contemplate the seriousness of the child that they're raising?
Right.
Especially because each child is a gift. None of them are going to be the Messiah, but they're all a gift. And what seriousness are we putting with kids? I mean, you hear parents talk about their kids, they sound like it's a burden.
Right.
But no, that's kind of to your point. Like, the funny thing is, with me, depending on what I'm using the song for, it will either be slow and contemplative, or I'll be happy and upbeat because the message is
right.
wonderful.
Exactly.
That's the thing that I've always cared about. What is the message of the song? And from there, yes, I do like to have this style. I do play it how it matches. Sometimes because I want to emphasize the point of the song, and sometimes because when I meditate on the song, that's what I get from it, and I play it how the lyrics make me feel, and out of the truth about God flows the style in which I play it. Is
right.
Basically how I think to put it. But it's, again, for me, it's just, I don't understand, or to me, it's just whose worship are you presenting when you sit there and say, oh, we need to do it exactly like this person?
Right.
Are you offering God your worship, or are you offering him someone else's worship?
Right.
Why do you think God wants their worship when he made you to be you? He didn't ask this is the way I look at it. He didn't ask the servant, or in the parable, the master did not ask the servant that he gave 2 talents to present him with the same 5 talents that the servant who had 5 talents did. He wasn't even looking for the one with 1 talent to present him with the same amount of talents as the others. He was expecting a return on the talents that he had given.
Right.
And with us, it's, if he's given you these talents, these abilities, this style, it doesn't make sense to offer someone else's style of worship. It doesn't make sense to offer someone else's play style. Their lyrics, fine. Their melody, all that, fine. But like, even with mine, I usually change up how the melody goes because I like the feel that I'm going with, and we're gonna go with it. I'll say 6/8 is another one I don't like. I can do it. I can do 6/8 a little bit better than
3/4.
3/4, but it's still kind of, it's one of those things it's not as natural to me as just 4/4 is. 6/4 is one I'm like, no, that's even worse. than 3/4, because 3/4 is at least one off. 6/4 is two off because you're now 2 beats behind, or 2 beats ahead, whichever way you want to look at it. You're 2 beats off for the measure, but.
Who would have thought that we would turn into have a musical theory discussion?
Well, but that's the thing. There are some people that do like 3/4. There are some people that like
exactly.
And
so again, why are we doing everything the same way?
Well, and you can chime in on how you feel about this. The thing I notice with a lot of the contemporary stuff is they want you to feel, because they're focused on they're more based off the lyrics. They're more focused on the style of the song. They're looking for the song to be sung a certain way because it's supposed to invoke a certain emotion. Like, they're looking to invoke that emotion. So they write lyrics that fit it, and they do a style that fits it. And they use the music to get the emotion that they want with the lyrics, and kind of put lyrics that seem like they go with the emotions that they're trying to get you to feel, so that it seems like it's giving this deep spiritual movement, when the fact of the matter is music just does that to us. Music is a powerful thing that God has given us that has the ability to invoke emotion.
Right. Going along with what you just said, Angeline says modern worship music uses a specific formula to invoke and to pull that feeling from us. Slow and softer start, then music builds up, drums start to build, and then all the instruments come in. And then and then she goes on to say, the reality is that most modern worship songs is music designed to worship ourselves. Modern worship is a very man-centered, which is why it's played to invoke those feelings.
We got some visitors outside. I don't know if they're gonna stop in, but yeah. Well, that's the funny thing. Both in they structure the lyrics, because you have verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus is almost like how all of them are done.
Right.
Like almost bar none. And like she said, you always start off with just guitar. You gotta start off with the guitar. Gotta start off quiet, and then you kind of get into the drums. You kind of bring them in the second verse, then you bring them into the chorus. Then on the third verse, you go, and then you're building into that third or the second chorus, because you didn't do a chorus after the first verse. And you're building into it, and then you drop out for the bridge, and you get quiet, and then you start to build up again, and you start building up again, and you start building up again, and then you go all in for the last two choruses. I can't even keep it straight, because with all of them, it's just you either have stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, stanza 4, or first chorus, first chorus, first chorus, first chorus. But that's the thing about it, is they want it done all the exact same way every time. And the thing that I don't like about that is they write the lyrics around that.
Right.
They try to make it like there's this deep, meaningful thing that they're building into, or they just write simplistic lyrics that they just can build to while saying the same thing. And so that's the thing that gets me, is they try to write it all the same way.
Right.
And like when I think of my favorite, like you and I were talking about it, how deep the Father's love for us, very slow, natural. It's normally a slow song, and it's contemplative, but I mean, when you look at the lyrics, it's a very deep song, but it's different from it is well with my soul, also kind of slow, contemplative. I stand amazed in the presence, or I stand amazed. A little more upbeat. How great thou art, a little more. It's almost like a ballad,
right,
to an extent. And then you have He Keeps Me Singing. That one. There's within my heart a melody.
Right.
Jeez. So it's a little bit more heavy, but you read through them, and the lyrics are. The lyrics are on a lot of those songs are wonderful. There's some that maybe not so much. Even with what you said, as the deer panteth for the water, because that one's right out of Scripture. There's no better worship than music that is right out of Scripture.
Right.
Kind of going back to what we said. The best way we can worship God is through But he himself said, "Oh, it's only 12:46." So we still got. I'll say we're expecting this to go a little bit shorter because little Eddie has got somewhere he's got to be. So, but you like there's if you look at all of them, they're very topical.
Right.
There's something that it's focusing on. You know, one that I've really come to love. It's very short. The verses, each stanza is very short, but Amazing Grace. Because you sit there and you say, well, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. But then you get to the next one. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fare. And it's funny because you say that to most modern evangelicals today, they'd probably be like, fair what? Because we're not taught
Right.
that we should be fearful. No, he's a loving God. He's a loving God. Sure, for those who love him and keep his commandments, because that's how even he describes himself. God describes himself as a God who shows steadfast love to those who love him and keep his commandments. But you really gotta look into who the God of the Old Testament is, because Yahweh, I am that I am. There is no God of the Old Testament and God of the New Testament. But what we see in the Old Testament is we see that he will punish sin. He will deal with sin, and he will enjoy it. His words, not mine. And you sit there and say, well, how can God enjoy dealing with sin? Because he's holy. It's interesting that we don't like the idea of God enjoying dealing with sin. Yet what happens if there's a trial, right? And there's someone that's on charge for murder, like horrific murders, and they're like, yeah, we find him guilty and we sentence him to this much. Everyone cheers. We cheer when we see evil being punished, but then we talk about God punishing evil. It's like, well, no, God is love. Yes, but he also must, by virtue of being love, he must also hate. Because God cannot love you and not hate what happened to the Jews with the Holocaust. Not hate, the mistreatment of people made in his image during slavery. He cannot love us and not hate those things.
Right.
So, a God who loves by virtue has to also hate. But I'm gonna say a little bit off topic.
Well, I mean, okay, so stepping on going back to that just for a second. God, I mean, when Moses would come down to the mountains, and he would talk to Aaron, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Aaron, and he made Aaron the head priest, and his sons were also going to be like the head priest, and God was like, "This is what I command." Moses told them, "This is how we're supposed to sacrifice," and literally the first time they sacrificed, 2 of his sons died right off the bat. Because they didn't do exactly what God said. It was like, look, here it is. This is your checklist. I need you to follow the checklist. Do not deviate from this checklist. And they did. And he was like, I told you it was going to happen. And he burned them up and killed them.
Yeah, and and if you read in there, because that was a big one that we were reading about when we talked about feminism in the church on our roundtable. And if you read in there, it says, "I will be respected in my worship," and it's. People sit there and think that it's an extreme. Well, no, you're worshiping him. He has told you shall worship me in this way. By telling him, no, I'm going to worship you this way, you're telling him, I know better than you. I'm going to worship you how I want to. And it's like, you're not worshiping him at that point. Because part of worship is acknowledging that he is above everything. If he is above everything, then how he tells you things should be, you do. If you do something other than what he tells you, you've just put yourself above him because he has given you this list and you said, no, I'm going to do it this way. And that's, I'm not going to say that it's a one-to-one, but that's to some degree how I feel about, we have to worship him like this guy does. He didn't make you that guy.
Right.
He didn't make you to worship like that guy. He didn't give you that guy's style. He didn't give you that guy's musical ability. My biggest thing with it is like, because part of the formula is you got to have a section with lead guitar that has guitar riffs and all that, and does these guitar riffs. Well, okay. Why am I going to do "Mighty to Save" like Chris Tomlin? Do 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 do. It's like that. That's not even one. Anyone who's an actual guitarist, that's not even a guitar riff. That's just playing quarter notes.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I don't even I don't care. I don't want to do that. I don't want to add my own. I don't want to add like phrasing or different things like that from my music to it. I want to create the accompaniment for the voices of God's children singing praise to Him. I mean that's how I see it. There's a place and time for each. I think in communal worship is a time when you're not there to put on and showcase the abilities God's given you through something that stands out and realistically calls attention to you. That's when you're there just to provide the accompaniment for the voices of God's children. That's my view. I don't really have anything in there. That's just that's my style, how I choose to do it.
Right.
And so that was one of the things at the church that I was attending up in Illinois. It's like, well, we got to do it more like the CD. Well, I don't want to do that. I just want to play chords so that people know what key to sing in.
Right.
So I'll say, and that's the thing is like you don't really see any happy medium with any of it, right?
No.
Like you have the old style Baptist who you play piano only, and actually I say you don't, but I will say like this is what I love about my church. I didn't think that they were going to respond well to drums, and so I introduced it little by little, and they're over there like, man, we need that in the worship service. I was like, say less, church. This is your time to worship God, and I'm just here to facilitate it. So you say less, and I will do it. My thing just, anyways. So that's actually fun. But you have like the old style Baptist who they're just like, oh, you can't, dancing's a sin, which if you don't like it, that's fine. But I don't know where it's sin.
Right.
But. And so you just sit there. There was a church I heard of that like if you took more than 2 steps while the music was playing, they would consider it dancing and they'd essentially reprimand you, which is kind of silly. But then you have the other side where they're over there like flailing their arms and getting in the thing and doing like street perform, or they're doing synchronized performances and doing all that, and it's like. I don't know that we necessarily need to go that far. I mean, I guess there's a time and place for that, but when it's communal worship, I don't see a need for that.
Right.
But I also don't see a move if you're just singing along like you're with the radio and you just kind of start swaying, moving around. Go for it.
Right.
As they say in the biz, move as the Spirit leads you. But I'll say. Trying to think of others, or I guess it's that's the weird thing is it's just I guess realistically you have the thing I see with it, the thing I see kind of between the difference being is you have Angela kind of alluded to it, or not alluded to it, she actually outright said it. Where was it? But realistically, the new contemporary stuff, you have man-centered worship. If you look at the lyrics, and so you have one style that appeals to the emotions. You have the other that appeals to the those who thirst for understanding God more. Because if you look at most contemporary Christian songs, how much do you actually learn about God? Like, okay, reckless love, which I contend that reckless love is a bad song to listen to because of the title and the main chorus, because you're calling God's love reckless. Well, if you look at the definition of reckless, without concern or regards for the consequences. So it's basically saying that God was just impulsive. It's not that God deliberately chose to love us. He just impulsively loved us and died on the cross as a result. No. None of that was impulsive. That was planned out before the foundations of the earth. So before the earth was even created, God already decided this is how he was going to display his love for us. So it's not a reckless love. It's an intentional love, which is what we should want. Because that's why he can love sinners such as us. It's because it's intentional. It doesn't matter how bad or gravely we sin. It doesn't matter how many times we sin. It doesn't matter how many times he has to forgive us. But you look at it. All it sings about is the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, and chase me down something, the 99. All it sings about is God's love. All it sings about is God's love. But then you have good Father, where it just says you're a good Father, not much else. Oh, how he loves us. So again, about God's love. How he loves us. Oh, how. At what point do we start to learn something?
Right.
And so it's, and it's kind of funny because I heard Paul Washer say this as well, and it is true. You can make an idol out of theology, where it's, I know all this theology, and you miss the whole point of it all. The whole point of it all is to understand more and have a deeper relationship with the God whom you say you serve. And so you can't take it too far, but by far and large, more theology is better than no theology.
Right.
Because it's better to actually know about the God you serve than to know nothing and just be saying you serve him. Because those are the ones who are, the ones who are going to say, did I not do this for you? Did I not do these things in your name? And they'll say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, for I never knew you. But then again, you have that on both sides. The best one is to actually know what Jesus did for you and understand that you're a wretched sinner and that he had to die in order for you to have any chance of salvation. That's the best one. Because either one misses the mark, so. But what are your thoughts?
I don't have any. I mean, you've put it exactly the way I would have put it. So I mean, we're standing, we're standing on the hill together, I was
gonna say, well, I was figuring you're gonna talk a little bit about the your whole thing with Christian dubstep.
Oh, I kind of forgot. The whole reason why we this whole conversation started, and today's topic is because I came in and I said, did I tell you about finding Christian dubstep? And he was like, no. I know I talked to Jonathan about it. But like I really like all kinds of music. I mean, I was trained classically. I can sing in the operatic style. I don't sing country very well, just because I can't do the twang, and my wife laughs at me every time that I try to sing country, because it just didn't work out that way because I don't have that twang. I don't have that flat draw or anything like that.
Well, this is God's
country. And it just didn't work. But what I was saying, I was looking for something a little like, it's still Christian music, but does it have to be this ethereal, slow
synth?
Yeah, very, 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 very thought-provoking or feeling-provoking song that's kind of like, I hate to say woe is me and weighs you down, but that's what I feel sometimes about a lot of contemporary music in particularly, and especially popular stuff. And I know there's other folks that do like a jazz style, which is great. I know that some people do upbeat songs, but like again, it's so overwhelmingly this one style that you don't get the other styles, or you don't get the other the feelings. We're not just woe is me and it's like that. We can rejoice and be happy in our relationship with our God. And I'm not saying Christian dubstep's the way to go. I just particularly like good dubstep, and I listen to it in the morning, when I get in the shower, because for one, those bass drops and the fast pacedness and the upness wakes me up. it puts God in my mind, especially like on Sunday mornings, going into worship service, that this is, okay, it's time for me to start thinking about, God, what is our lesson today? How can I improve my walk? What can I do for others to show the love of Christ in what I'm doing? And I'm not saying that, the popular, the ethereal, the thought provoking, it doesn't do that for other folks. I'm just saying that dubstep gives me a little pep in my step, or upbeat songs in general give you a little bit of pep in your step, and it doesn't have to be, again, this ethereal, woe is me, reverent, solemnly reverent overall theme every time we turn on the radio or every time we go to listen to Christian music. There are, there's country music country Christian songs. There's country, there's just Christian jazz. There's Christian rap. Wasn't there a Big Daddy Weave was here or Fixin' Come or something like that?
Oh, Brian Trejo.
Brian Trejo,
who is a Christian rap artist,
and his Christian rap artist, and his stuff is good. And so you have these different styles of music, but I just hate the fact that, or not hate, because hate's a really strong word, but I dislike the fact that contemporary Christian music, in particularly, is like we said, has to be done in a certain way, and there's no room for discussion for anything else.
Which is funny because they wanted to break from the old style,
right?
And so they create this new style, but don't all the same way, and everyone wants. It's funny because it's trying to make people feel emotional and like bring them to tears because they think, oh yeah, we should be crying. Well, yes, we should be crying, but first off, we should be crying because of how wretched and sinful we are, which is something that God has brought out in me here recently. But then also crying because of the great love with which, this thing, you can't truly understand the love of God until you first understand how vile and disgusting you are as a human. But I think that's the thing, is we should care more about the lyrics. We should care more about what is being said, and how the point gets across is completely up to each person and what they want.
Right.
And that's the thing. Christian dubstep. There's some people that probably think Christian dubstep.
Oh yeah, like, oh my God.
Whoa.
But the same thing can be said about Christian rap because the connotation of rap music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we talking about going up and shooting up and stealing and treating women badly? No.
We're doing it to a style we enjoy. The style is not what God commands. It's the content of it. Right. He what did he say? When you go, you shall do these things. There are certain things you shall do. And it's like we said, the most worshipful thing you can do is just recite to yourselves who God is, who he has revealed to us, because there's no way we can know him on our own. The Bible talks about how we were his enemies. How much of us actually try to learn about our enemies? Next to none. The only people who actually try to learn about their enemies are those who are trying to go to war with them.
Right.
But even then, they don't. They just try to learn their battle style. But, realistically, how many people learn about artists that they don't like or actors that they don't like? No one. If a team you don't like, you don't go to look and understand their stats because you don't care. You don't like them. And so it's we as humans naturally are in enmity with God. And so the most worshipful we can get is what he has revealed about himself to us. Because we know it's absolutely true. Our hearts are deceitfully wicked. What we come up with may not be true. It's only true if it's founded in what he has already revealed to us. So the best things you can have are those that are grounded in his truth. Yeah. And from there, it's like the style is all on what you want. Because I was over there thinking, like, Christian dubstep, I'm like, is this like just a modern thing? But then you're like, yeah, they like with How Great Thou Art. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're talking about like adding dubstep to songs like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, the remixes and stuff like that to make, I can only imagine into an upbeat song. And I can only imagine it's a phenomenal song. And I'm not saying the words behind it, the music for it, I think it's really very well done. It plays on both, the secular and contemporary Christian stations because it's a phenomenal song, and I'm not discounting that. What I'm discounting is the fact that majority of Christian music sounds like that.
Well, it is interesting to think about putting that in a more upbeat, more excited, because it on the one thing it should be something that we think about.
Right.
We should meditate on what it would be like to come into the presence of God. But then when we understand that there will be no suffering, there's times for it to be a wonderful thing. There's times for it to be a somber thing, but it's ultimately, again, it comes down to what is being said. What is it that we're singing about? Are we singing about something that is true, or are we just singing happy clappy words and making it because we're trying to make a happy clappy song? And that's the thing. That's the thing for me is realistically, it should not matter. It should not matter if it's an old hymn. Even if it's an old hymn, that find a way to jazz it up. Me and my brothers did like a jazz version of "I'll Fly Away," where it started out like a old time thing, and then jumped into like a up peppy. I don't know. We did "Battle Hymn of the Republic," where instead of doing it in 4/4, da 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 da, it was like bum 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 dun dun dun. Of the coming of the Lord. So it had more of a swing feel to it.
Right.
Like, you want something new? Make something new out of the hymns. Find a song that has a that I'm not even gonna say that has a good message about God, because there's a lot of them that's not necessarily a bad message. There's just not really much of a message other than God's love. Find a song that encompasses the gospel. I'm going to put it like that because if you look at the Bible from cover to cover, it's all centralized around the gospel, because that's the only thing that matters. It's centralized around the gospel because that's why God allowed all of this to happen. And so find a song that really encompasses the gospel and throw your own style to it. Figure something out. I've even thought of doing it for. I'm just checking to make sure we got. Yeah, we got time. I've even thought about doing performing "Amazing Grace" to the tune of "Oh Praise the Name," because hey, I can make it fit. So hey, I can do a new style of "Amazing Grace" that's not like anything else.
Well, that's why also when you look at the books, when you look at the book of Psalms, and it's written by David, and and he has all these songs that he wrote himself. But if you notice, there's no music. Like there's no notes. So there's nothing that ties down this specific verse this specific way. That's got to be done every time. It's written in poetry, and poetry in and of itself is up to interpretation. And if you're going to take those psalms and turn them into songs, why does every one of them have to be the same? It doesn't, because some of those are, like I said, some of them are, excitement, festive, upbeat, the message is, and then some of them are woe is me, I am terrible, I don't deserve your love, but through your love that I am saved. Mm-hmm. Some of them are about going to war. I mean, you're going to do heavy drum beats. It's very warlike. Let's destroy. Let's go destroy our enemies because they're coming after us. And so you have these different songs. You have the Psalms portray different feelings. And the cool thing about music is that music picks up on those feelings. And you want to emphasize this and this and that, but to make everything, to make a war song into a, oh, woe is me, oh, we're gonna do minor key, real slow. No, like and to match the upbeat song, that's also we've turned into a slow and low and woe is me and ethereal. to the song that actually needs to be the woe is me ethereal, and make them all the same. That's therein lies the problem.
I say, could you imagine if we did Psalm 144 to the tune of Forever? Oh no. Yeah. Blessed be the Lord who trains my hands for war. Happy clappy. Yeah, we're gonna do battle.
Right.
Protect me from foreigners who. I actually would want to do almost a battle hymn, of that one, but man, yeah, that's a good idea. No,
And then going back to, I mean, we see this in the Bible. I mean this is not just my feelings. You see this in the Bible, like God uses music for different things. I mean, look, we walked around a whole town for 3 days and blew trumpets and shouts and drum beats and stuff like that, and a wall fell.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they had, like you said, they even talked about. If no one blows the trumpet, how will they know how to respond in war? So
right.
It is done to, and I mean even outside of that, you look at how we used to fight war. They had people who were solely dedicated to music because God has created within music this ability to move us
right
in some way, and so it's that's the thing, is it moves us, it invokes the emotions. But it shouldn't be the only thing that invokes the emotions, and then we throw words to it because now we got emotions, because that's not what it's intended to be. The emotion should come from the lyrics, and like you said, music that enhances that experience.
Right.
It's the music is not the main source; it's the enhancement of what the Word of God is already doing in us. But part of the problem is, and I guess I didn't think this was going to come to like a gospel type message, but part of the problem is there's a lot of people who call themselves evangelicals who they don't even truly know the gospel. Because if all you know of the gospel is, oh, you pray this prayer and you are saved, that is not the gospel. Never in there is it saying that you are saved by saying a prayer.
Right.
Like it says, all those whosoever shall call upon his name shall not perish but have eternal life. But like everything else, you have to take that in context of everything else it says. Jesus says, not all who say Lord, Lord, but those who do the will of my Father. The first point of the gospel is first coming to recognize and understand you are vile, wretched, evil, sinner. And the thing with most modern Christians, I'm trying to be probably get to wrapping up here soon. Most thing with modern Christians is they talk about brokenness. Well, it's not just a matter of brokenness. It's a matter of being downright rebellious and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a difference between brokenness and being evil. Brokenness just means you can't be pleasing to. They portray it as almost as if you just can't be good enough for God, when in reality you're by yourself evil and wretched and want to do evil before God. Like, there's a difference between the two. It's like, oh, I'm trying, but I just can't do it. I'm trying, but I just can't do it. No, apart from God, you're not even trying. There's none righteous, no, not one. No one seeks to do good. No one looks to seek after God. So apart from God, you're not just broken. You are dead on your path to destruction. And so it's the thing. But the thing is, those who look for some kind of thing to point to say that they're saved, that America, the whole thing of, results oriented, oh, you gotta do this. If you want this kind of growth, you gotta do this, X, Y, and Z. You follow this 5-step process. America has done the same thing to Christianity, and so we say, oh, well, you just gotta pray this prayer and mean it in your heart, and all this, and names written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and once saved, always saved, and you don't gotta worry. You don't gotta ever worry about your salvation because you prayed this prayer. And so then those people who have said, Lord, Lord, but there's been no change in their life, what do they seek out? They seek out music that invokes the emotion, because the Word of God isn't enough to invoke their emotion, because they hate God. It's really what it boils down to. Is you if you need the music to evoke the emotions and you can't get those emotions just reading through the lyrics, it's yeah, it's because you hate God. Let's just put it that way. Or it's not saying anything that's really or it's not saying anything that's really making you realize the depth with which God has chosen to love you. Because I mean, that's even the thing. You with what they sing about God being God's love and the songs they write, because you don't show the depth to which He has loved us, what He has loved us from and saved us from. You don't address that. You can't truly appreciate His love. You can write about it as this great thing, but if you're not going to, who really, let's say who really understands how far technology has gotten us in America nowadays, given that everything's so easy. It's always been easy for them. They don't understand what was done by the people who first came here, the people who said, well, there is no safety net by the government, but I'm going to go out and make a living, and they explored and they pushed out. Kids nowadays don't appreciate that because all they've ever known is what's already been built. They haven't known what it took to get here, and so they don't understand what has been required to get America as prosperous as it was. And not really the greatest comparison, but I don't know. But with it being as late as it is, you got anything you want to finish off with, little
Nope.
Eddie? All right. Well, then on that note, thank you for tuning in, Misfits. Thank you for being with us. You've more dedicated than Big Bad John, who was not with us. Just kidding. We like to tease and rib here. But
Okay,
he is,
I guess we'll give him a pass.
most of us will. Princess Magpul may fire him.
Well,
we don't know.
Dad's the boss, so.
Yep. I'll say. I just keep my head down and make it look like I'm working. So, pro tip for everyone: if you don't do anything, you can't mess anything up.
I mean, it's true.
So, well, on that note, everyone, we hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you stay safe, stay free, and stay caffeinated.